העולם כולו גשר צר מאוד, כל העולם הוא גשר צר, כל העולם כולו גשר צר מאוד, כל העולם הוא גשר צר מאוד, כל העולם כולו גשר צר מאוד, כל העולם הוא גשר צר, כל העולם כולו גשר צר מאוד, כל העולם הוא גשר, והעיקר לא לפחד כלל, לא לפחד, והעיקר לא לפחד כלל, לא לפחד, כל העולם כולו גשר צר מאוד, כל העולם הוא גשר צר, כל העולם כולו גשר צר מאוד, כל העולם הוא גשר, והעיקר לא לפחד כבר, לא לפחד, והעיקר לא לפחד כבר, לא לפחד. As I walk along this very narrow bridge, I will not be afraid, knowing you are with me. As I walk along this very narrow bridge, I will not fear, knowing you are near. והעיקר לא לפחד כלל, לא לפחד, 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 לא לפחד כלל. מה גדלו מעשיך היה, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. מה גדלו מעשיך היה, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. How great are your works, O God, how very profound your design. We read in Psalm 92, how great are your works indeed in this world in which we live, the human bodies that might stand before you offering our praise as we begin our service this morning on page 76. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher yatzar et ha'adam b'chokhmah uvaravo nekavim nekavim chalulim chalulim galui v'yadua lifnei chisei chavodecha she'im yipateach echad mehem o yisatem echad mehem אי אפשר להתקיים ולעמוד לפניך. ברוך אתה אדוני רופא כל בשר ומפליא לעשות. And on page 78 we give thanks for the souls, for the cognition implanted within each of our bodies. Elohai, Elohai, Neshama, Shenatata bi Tehorahi, Atavarata, Atayetzata, Atanefachta bi, Ve'ata Mishamra, Mishamra bekirbi, Elohai, Elohai, Neshama, Shenatata bi Tehorahi. For as long as my soul is within me, I offer thanks to you, Adonai, my God and God of my ancestors, source of all creation, sovereign of all souls. Praised are you, Adonai, in whose hand is every living soul and the breath of humankind. Baruch atah Adonai, asher biado nefesh kol chai, v'ruach kol basar ish. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who has given the mind the ability to distinguish day from night. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who opens the eyes of the blind. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who frees the captive. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who lifts up the fallen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who stretches the earth over the waters. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who strengthens our steps. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who clothes the naked. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who gives strength to the weary. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who removes sleep from the eyes, slumber from the eyelids. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who made me in the image of God. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who has made me free. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who has made me a Jew. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who girds Israel with strength. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who crowns Israel with splendor. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kijanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to engage with words of Torah. O Adonai, our God, let the words of Torah be sweet in our mouths and the mouths of your people Israel, so that we, our descendants, and the descendants of all your people Israel may know you by studying your Torah for its own sake. Blessed are you, Adonai, who teaches Torah to your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, hamlamed Torah le'amo Yisrael. We continue on page 94, the start of Pesukei de Zimra. Ya la ya la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la ya la ya la, ya la la ya la ya la la la, ya la la ya la 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 la. Baruch Shamar v'haya haolam, Baruch Hu, Baruch Oseh v'Reshit, Baruch Omer v'Oseh, Baruch Gozer Umkayim, Baruch Merachem al haaretz, Baruch Merachem al habriot, Baruch Mishalem Sachar Tov l'Reav, Baruch Chai le'ad, V'kayam la'netzach, Baruch Podeh Umatzil, Baruch Shemo. bishvachot uvizmirot negadelcha, unshebechecha unfa'ercha v'nazkir shimcha v'namlichecha malkeinu Eloheinu, yachid chei holamim, melech meshubach umfo'ar ad shemo hagadol, baruch atah Adonai, melech mehulal, batish bachot. And continuing on page 100 with words of Psalm 150. Hallelu, 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 el bekodsho, hallelu, birki yauzo, hallelu, bigvurotav, hallelu, Kirov Gudlo, Hallelu, 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 Betecha Shofar, Hallelu, Beneva Vechinor, Hallelu, Betofu Machol, Hallelu, Beminim Vugav, Hallelu, 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 B'tziltzilei Shama, Hallelu, B'tziltzilei Trua, Kol Anshama Tehallel, Hallelu, Hallelujah, Hallelu, 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 Hallelujah. Page 105. Yishtabach Shimcha La'ad Malkenu, Ha'el Hamelech Hagadol Ba'Hakadosh B'Shamayim U'Va'aretz, Ki Lecha Na'eh Adonai Eloheinu, V'Elohei Avotenu V'Imotenu, Shir U'Shvacha Halel V'Zimra, Oz Memshala Netzech Gedula U'Gvura, Tehila V'Tiferet, Kedusha Malchut Brachot V'Hodaot Me'ata V'Ad Olam, Baruch atah Adonai el melech gadol batish bachot el hahodaot adon haniflot habocher b'shirei zimra melech el chei haolamim. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba v'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayedecho beit Yisrael bagala bagala uv'izman kariv v'meru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevarach Le'alam Ulal Me'almaya Yitbarach Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitbar V'yitramam V'yitnaseh V'yithadahar V'yitalev V'yithalal Shmei D'Kudusha B'richu Le'la Mincho B'chata V'shirata Tush B'chata V'nechemata Damiran Belma V'yimeru. Amen. Page 108. Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Va'ed. And on the top of page 111. In the beginning, even then, a new light was sown for the righteous, a promise that your light would become the catalyst, first for order and then for hope. Author of language and light, help us to use words as you have, to cast light into dark waters and draw out justice and truth. Baruch atah Adonai Yotzer HaMeorot. And on the bottom of page 113, Love your neighbor as yourself, you said. In light blinded we saw that inner and outer worlds are one, as you are one. You spoke and we wrote, we reached for you down the centuries, your light moving before us as we climbed, fell back and climbed again, your Sinai of life. Baruch atah Adonai, habocher ba'amo Yisrael, be'ahava. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. We continue on page 116. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta habam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uv'isharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'item kedoshim lelechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem le'Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem, Amen. On page 119, words that help us contextualize the prayers of our tradition, reminding us of the fringes on our garment. Life without integrity is like loosely hanging threads, easily fraying from the main cloth. While in acts of piety, we learn to understand that every instant is like a thread, raveling out of eternity to form a delicate tassel. We must not cast off the threads, but weave them into a design of an eternal fabric. Each day points to eternity. The fate of all time depends upon a single moment. We continue on page 122. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, Norah tehilot, oseh fele, Norah tehilot, oseh fele, shira chadasha, shibchu gulim l'shimcha, al sfat hayam, yachad kulam hodu, v'imlichu ve'amru, Adonai yimloch, Adonai yimloch, leolam va'ed. Tzur Yisrael, kuma be'ezrat Yisrael, uvdechinu mecha Yehuda v'Yisrael, go aleinu Adonai tzvaot shemo, Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch atah Adonai, Gal Yisrael. We continue with our Amidah, beginning on page 124. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid dilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'konei HaKol, V'zocher Chasevot V'imahot, U'mevi Gula Livnei V'neihem, L'man Shemo B'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai Magen Avraham, V'ezrat Tzarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol Atarav Lehoshia, Morid HaTal, Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed, Mechayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofeh Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Bal Gevurot, Umido Melach, Melech Memit Umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman Atah L'chayot HaKol, Baruch Atah Adonai Mechayeh HaKol. Nekadesh et shimcha ba'olam, keshem shemakdishim oto b'shmei marom, kachatuv al yad neviecha, v'kara zel zeh v'hamar, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Melech kol haaretz, Kevodo, Adir, Adirenu, Adonai, Adonenu, Madir, Shimcha bechol haaretz, Baruch Kevod Adonai, Mimkomo. Echad hu Eloheinu, hu Avinu, hu Malkeinu, hu Mosheinu, v'hu Yashmienu, berachamav le'nei kol chai, Ani Adonai Elohechem, Yimloch Adonai le'olam, Elohayich Zion, ledor vador, Hallelujah. Ledor vador nagid godlecha, u'lanetzach netzachim kedushatcha nakdish, v'shivchacha Eloheinu mipinu lo yamush, leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. On page 132, we find the words reminding us that those who keep Shabbat by calling it a delight will forever rejoice in God's realm. The people that hallow Shabbat will delight in your goodness, O God, for being pleased with the seventh day, you hallowed it as the most precious of days, drawing our attention to the work of creation. Yismechu v'malechutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, korei oneg Shabbat. Aha, mekadeshei, mekadeshei shavi Shabbat, kulam yisbehu, v'yitangu mitu v'cha Shabbat, yismechu v'malechutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat, yismechu v'malechutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat, v'hashvi ratzita bo v'kidashto Shabbat, chemdat yamim oto karata Shabbat, yismechu v'malechutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat, yismechu v'malechutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, Shabbat, Korei Oneg Shabbat, Zecher Lemase, Lemase V'Reishit Shabbat, Zecher Lemase, Lemase V'Reishit Shabbat, Yismechu v'malechutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, Korei Oneg Shabbat, Yismechu v'malechutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, Korei Oneg Shabbat. This Shabbat we begin the book of Deuteronomy, Parashat Devarim. We will be looking in Torah study at chapter 1, the reflection by Moses that perhaps recaps some of the Torah to date, perhaps recasts some of the Torah to date, looking for discrepancies, particularly between the book of Deuteronomy and the book of Numbers. Perhaps from each of those textual challenges, there's something we can learn about Moses. Perhaps there's something we can learn about ourselves. And immediately following the conclusion of our service this morning, I would invite you to join us for Torah study either on Zoom or here in the community room at Temple Emmanuel of South Hills. The blessing before the reading of Torah can be found on page 250 in your prayer book. Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach. Baruch Adonai Yimvarach Leolam Vaed. Baruch et Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam, Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Hamim V'natan Lanu et Torato. Baruch et Adonai Noten HaTorah. Ele hadivarim asher diber Moshe el kol Yisrael be'ever hayarden bamidbar. Arava Mosuf ben Paran uven Tofel velavan v'chatzerot v'dizahav achad asar yom mehorev derech har seir ad kadesh barnea v'hi barba'im shana v'she'asar chodesh bechad lachodesh Diber Moshe el bnei Yisrael kechol asher tiva Adonai oto alehem acharei hakoto et Sichon melech Hamori asher yoshev b'cheshbon ve'et Og Melech Habashan, Asher Yoshev Bashtarot Bedrei, Be'ever HaYarden Be'eretz Moav, Ho'il Moshe Be'er, Et HaTorah Hazot Lemor, Adonai Eloheinu, Diber Eleinu Be'horev Lemor, Rav Lechem Shevet Bahar Hazeh Benus Ulachem Uvo Har Hamori Ve'el Kol Shechenav Barava Vahar Uvashvela Uvanegev Uvachov Hayam Eretz HaKanani V'Halvanon Ad HaNa'ar HaGadol, Na'ar Parat, Re'eh, Natati Livnechem, Et Haaretz, Bo'u, Orshu Et Haaretz, Asher Nishba Adonai, Lavotechem, Abraham Yitzchak Yaakov, Leteit Lahem, Uzaram Achareihem. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Aleinu l'shabech can be found on the bottom of page 282. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כויי ארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני המלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו echad. In preparation for our Mourner's Kaddish on page 294, we remember those who have come before us. We observe the period of Shloshim for Naomi Sogolov and mark the yahrzeit to the commemoration of the passing of Joseph Amster, Abby Offenberg, Bessie Baker, Eunice Barnes, Albert Brownstein, Margaret Dell, Howard Protus Freed, Meyer Handmaker, Samuel Harris, Alan M. Hoffman, Esther Horlick, Lynn Katz, Ruth Kupperman, Charlotte Levin, Jerry Light, Nathan Lightman, Emma Wolf Loeb, Robert Lumish, Joseph Mandel, Elliot Marcus, Edward Motzman, Benjamin Plotkin, Bert Routman, Beatrice Rubenstein, Sheldon Sachs, Arnold Schillett, Ada Mae Schrut, Celia Schulman, Jamie Steve Simon, Gertie Smiga, Robert Solak, Robert Vatz, and Rose Weinberg. Yehei zichronam livracha, may their memories be for us an everlasting blessing. As we continue on page 294. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah, b'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malkutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lamei al-maya. Yit barach v'yishtabach v'yit ba'ar v'yit romam v'yit naseh v'yit hadar v'yit aleh v'yit halal shemei d'kudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechamata damiran v'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Shabbat Shalom.